My sister-in-law always seemed so innocent and kind, but the day I found their secret messages and hidden photos revealing her affair with my husband, I realized how deep the lies ran and how much they had betrayed me behind closed doors. I found them on a Tuesday. Not together, not physically, but in the digital breadcrumbs they'd carelessly left behind on our shared iPad. My husband, Marcus, had forgotten to log out of his Instagram, and there it was, a message request from an account I didn't recognize. The profile picture was obscured, artistic, but I knew those hands. Those were Sarah's hands, my brother's wife's hands, holding a wine glass in that specific way she always did, pinky slightly extended like she was too good for normal grips. The first message made my stomach drop through the floor. Last night was incredible. I can't stop thinking about what you did with your tongue. Dated 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, when I was at my mother's bedside in the hospital, holding her hand through her third round of chemo. 3 weeks ago, when Sarah had offered to bring Marcus dinner because he must be so lonely with you gone all the time. I scrolled up. The messages went back 8 months. 8 months of I love yous that weren't meant for me. 8 months of explicit photos of my sister-in-law's body, parts of her I'd never wanted to see, positions I recognized from our bedroom. She'd been in our bed. The burgundy sheets in one photo, I bought those for our anniversary. The one on our headboard is visible in another, from when we moved it wrong last year. Our bed. Our sacred space. My hands shook so I nearly dropped the iPad. There were videos too. I couldn't bring myself to play them, but the thumbnails were enough. Sarah's face, twisted in pleasure, my husband's wedding ring visible on the hand that gripped her hip. The same ring I'd slipped on his finger 5 years ago while crying happy tears and promising forever. The worst part wasn't even it was the conversations between. The inside jokes about me. Sarah calling me clingy and desperate after I'd confided in her about feeling disconnected from Marcus. Marcus wrote, "She bought another fertility test today. As if I'd want kids with someone so neurotic." That one made me, right there on our bathroom floor, the iPad clattering beside me as my body rejected everything I thought I knew about my life. They'd been laughing at me. Every Sunday dinner at my brother's house, every double date, every time Sarah hugged me and whispered "You're so lucky to have him," she'd been my husband. Every time Marcus kissed my forehead and said he was working late, he'd been working for real instead. The camping trip they'd both bailed on last minute with different excuses? The timestamps matched. They'd been together while my brother Tom and I sat around the campfire, joking about how we'd married workaholics. I thought about Tom then, sweet, trusting Tom, who'd been talking about trying for another baby with Sarah. Tom, who'd been my best friend since childhood, who'd walked me down the aisle when Dad couldn't. Tom, who was about to have his world shattered just like mine. The iPad dinged with a new message. "Sarah again, can't wait for this weekend. She believes you're going to that conference in Denver." There was no conference. I'd helped him pack his suitcase that morning, ironed his shirts, and even bought him travel-sized versions of his favorite cologne. I'd kissed him goodbye and said "I'll miss you," and he'd said it back, looking me straight in the eyes. I sat on that bathroom floor for 3 hours, reading everything. Every lie cataloged, every deception time-stamped. They'd developed a whole system. Sarah would text me about needing girl time when she wanted him to know I'd be gone. Marcus would complain about being stressed at work when he needed an excuse to leave. They'd been managing me like a problem to solve, a puzzle to work around. The photo that finally broke me was from 2 months ago. Sarah was wearing the lingerie I'd helped her pick out for Tom's birthday. She'd asked for my opinion, held it up against herself in the Victoria's Secret changing room while I told her how beautiful she looked, how lucky my brother was. In the message to my husband, she'd written, "Your wife has good taste. Want to take this off me?" I screamed then. Not a movie scream, not dramatic or cinematic, but a raw, animal sound that came from somewhere deeper than my throat. The neighbor knocked on the wall, but I couldn't stop. I screamed until my voice gave out, until my throat felt like sandpaper, until the only sound left was a broken wheeze that might have been crying or might have been dying. When Marcus called an hour later to say he'd landed safely in Denver, I listened to him lie with such practiced ease. "Miss you already, baby. The conference looks boring. Wish I were home with you instead." I wondered if Sarah was already with him, if she was listening, if they were trying not to laugh at how I was, how blind, how pathetically trusting. "I miss you too," I heard myself say, my voice surprisingly steady. "Have a good conference, honey." I hung up and started planning. The smart thing would have been to lawyer up immediately. The wise thing would have been to document everything and protect myself financially. But I wasn't smart or wise anymore. I was radioactive with rage, contaminated with a kind of that made rational thought impossible. I wanted them to burn, and I wanted everyone to see the flames. I started with Facebook. Not my account, but a new one. I called it The Truth About Sarah and Marcus, and I uploaded everything. Every screenshot, Every photo they'd send each other, every cruel thing they'd said about me and Tom. I tagged everyone we knew. Their co-workers, our families, the PTA moms from Sarah's daughter's school, Marcus's golf buddies, everyone. Then I sent the link to Tom with just 4 words, "I'm so sorry, brother." The explosion was immediate. My phone started ringing within minutes. Marcus first, the calls were coming fast and panicked. I declined them all. Then Sarah, leaving a voicemail that started with "Please, I can explain" and ended with "You've ruined everything, you psychotic." Then our parents, our friends, numbers I didn't recognize. The notifications came so fast that my phone froze twice. Tom called me 43 times. I finally answered on the 44th. "Is it real?" His voice was hollow, already knowing the answer. Every word. Every photo. "I'm so sorry, Tom." The sound he made wasn't quite crying, wasn't quite screaming. It was something else, something I recognized from my throat hours earlier. The sound of everything you thought was solid turning to smoke. "The kids," he whispered. "Oh God, Emma and Mason. Sarah's children. 8 and 6 years old. Who called Marcus Uncle Mark and loved him when he did magic tricks at family gatherings. I'd been teaching them to bake cookies just last week while their mother was supposedly at yoga but was actually in my bed with my husband." The Facebook post went viral in our small town within hours. Someone screenshotted it before Facebook took it down for violating community guidelines, but by then it had spread to Twitter, to Instagram, to local gossip groups. Sarah's carefully curated mommy blogger image imploded. The local wellness studio where she taught yoga fired her the next day. Marcus's company placed him on administrative leave pending an investigation into conduct unbecoming because he'd been using his company credit card for their hotel rooms. But the real devastation came in smaller waves. Emma, Sarah's 8-year-old, got sent home from school because she couldn't stop crying after kids showed her the posts. Mason stopped talking entirely, went completely silent for 3 weeks, according to Tom's later texts. My nephew and niece, the kids I'd loved like my own, were collateral damage in a war they didn't even know was being fought. Marcus flew home immediately, but I'd already changed the locks. He stood outside our house for 6 hours, alternating between apologizing and blaming me for overreacting. The neighbors filmed it. Someone uploaded it to TikTok with a caption, "Cheater gets locked out by wife who found out about his affair with her sister-in-law." It got 12 million views. I watched him sob on our doorstep through the Ring camera, feeling nothing but cold satisfaction. Sarah tried a different approach. She showed up at my work, mascara running, begging me to talk. Security had to escort her out when she wouldn't leave. She sent me 300 text messages in 2 days, ranging from apologies to threats to bizarre attempts at explanation. "It just happened. We couldn't help it. You don't understand what it's like to feel this kind of passion. I never meant to you. This is all your fault for posting those things." The passion excuse made me laugh, actually laugh, bitter and sharp. Passion. As if passion justified destroying 2 families. As if passion explained sending each other videos while your children slept down the hall. As if passion made it okay to your brother-in-law, your sister-in-law's husband, in the bed where she'd cried about her infertility. Our mother had to be hospitalized again, the stress triggering complications with her treatment. She'd seen the posts before anyone could stop her, seen the things they'd said about both her daughters-in-law, the mockery they'd made of our family dinners where she'd smiled at all of us, so proud of her children's marriages. The doctor said stress could impact her recovery. She died 2 months later. I'll never know if it was the cancer or the broken heart that killed her. Tom filed for divorce immediately. Sarah fought it, tried to claim I'd fabricated the evidence, then tried to blame me for seducing her into sharing intimate photos, then claimed Marcus had manipulated her. Each new lie made things worse. The judge awarded Tom full custody after Sarah failed to show up for 3 consecutive court dates, too busy having a very public breakdown that included keying my car, showing up at Marcus's mother's house, and getting arrested for public intoxication at our old favorite restaurant. Marcus's divorce lawyer was better than mine. Somehow, despite everything, I ended up having to pay him alimony. The house went to him, too, something about it being purchased before our marriage with his family money I hadn't known existed. I moved into a studio apartment that smelled like cigarettes and disappointment. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd exposed their affair and lost everything anyway. The last time I saw Sarah was at Mom's funeral. She looked like a ghost, thin and hollow-eyed, her perfect, tea-blown-out hair now hanging limp and unwashed. She tried to approach me at the cemetery, but Tom stepped between us. "You've done enough," he said quietly. She left without saying goodbye to anyone, driving off in the Honda she'd once called beneath her before she lost the Mercedes in the divorce. Marcus didn't even come. He sent flowers with a card that said "Thinking of you." I burned them in the parking lot of the funeral home, watching the petals curl and blacken, thinking about how everything we'd built had turned to ash just as quickly. It's been a year now, and the internet has moved on to other scandals, other betrayals, other families detonating in real time. But in our small town, I'm still the woman who went nuclear. Some people treat me like a hero, others like a cautionary tale. Most just avoid eye contact at the grocery store, unsure whether I'm a victim or a villain, whether what I did was justice or revenge. Tom and I don't talk anymore. He says looking at me reminds him too much of everything he lost. The kids, Emma and Mason, they're in therapy now. Tom says Emma has nightmares, wakes up crying for her mom, who only gets supervised visitation every other weekend. Mason started talking again, but only to ask when Mommy and Uncle Mark are coming back. The answer is never, but how do you explain that to a 6-year-old? I see Marcus sometimes, at the gas station or the bank. He's dating someone new, a 23-year-old who doesn't know our history or doesn't care. She looks at him the way I used to, all trust and admiration. I want to warn her, but I know she wouldn't listen. No one ever does. We all think we're the exception, that our love is different, stronger, real. Sarah works at a call center 2 towns over. She lives with her mother, who told everyone at church that I'd ruined her daughter's life over a misunderstanding. The wellness community she'd been part of completely ostracized her. Her Instagram, once full of sunrise yoga poses and smoothie bowls and pictures of her perfect family, has been deleted. She doesn't exist online anymore, erased herself after someone kept making fake accounts using her affair photos. The studio apartment is quiet most nights. Sometimes I reheat takeout and wonder if they're together somewhere, if destroying 2 families was worth it for them. But then I remember the last message I found, sent the morning I discovered everything. Marcus to Sarah, she's getting suspicious. We need to be more careful. Sarah's response, let her wonder. She's too busy to figure it out anyway. 2. Those words echo in the empty apartment, bounce off the water-stained ceiling, and the radiator that clangs at 3 a.m. They were right, I suppose. I was too trusting, too willing to believe that the people who claimed to love me did. But I wasn't to destroy them when I finally learned the truth. The therapy helps, sometimes. Dr. Brennan says I'm making progress, that the anger is fading. But she's wrong. The anger isn't fading, I'm just getting better at wearing it like skin instead of armor. It lives in me now, has replaced whatever softness used to exist where trust lived. I don't think it will ever leave. Last week, I got a message from a woman I don't know. Her husband had been cheating with his sister-in-law, too. She'd found my story online, wanted to know if it gets better. I told her the truth, it doesn't get better, it just gets different. You become someone else, someone harder and more careful, someone who knows that I love you can be a lie and family can be the people who betray you the worst. Marcus sent me a letter last month. 5 pages of apologies and explanations, claims that Sarah had pursued him, that he'd been weakened but still loved me. He wanted to try again, said we could move somewhere new, start fresh. I burned it without responding, watched our wedding vows go up in the same flame. Some things, once broken, can't be fixed. Some people, once seen clearly, can't be unseen. The worst part, the part that wakes me up at 3 a.m. in cold sweats, isn't even the betrayal anymore. It's the knowledge that I chose the nuclear option, that I could have handled it quietly, preserved some dignity for the children, and kept relationships intact. But I wanted them to see who I and the world, to see what they'd done. I got my wish, and the fallout poisoned everything it touched. Emma sent me a card for my birthday. Tom must not have known. Inside, in careful 8-year-old handwriting, I miss you, Aunt Julie. I'm sorry Mom and Uncle Mark made you sad. Can we make cookies again someday? I cried for 3 hours, then sent it back unopened. Some bridges, once burned, are too dangerous to rebuild. The apartment is getting smaller, or maybe I'm getting hollower. Either way, I fit perfectly now in this diminished life, this careful existence where I trust no one and love nothing that can love me back. I adopted a cat, but even she seems to sense the damage, sleeps at the foot of the bed instead of curling against me like the cats in the movies do. Dating is impossible. Every nice message feels like a potential lie. Every compliment sounds like something Marcus used to say. Every working late or grabbing drinks with friends would send me spiraling. I tried once, went on a date with a teacher from the next district who didn't know my story. When he said his ex-wife had trust issues, I laughed so hard I cried, then left before the appetizers arrived. Sarah's mother called yesterday. Sarah had attempted pills and wine, the classic suburban cocktail of desperation. She survived, barely, and her mother wanted me to know what I'd done, how my vindictiveness had nearly killed her daughter. I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not guilt, just the same empty echo that's lived in my chest since that Tuesday on the bathroom floor. The truth is, we're all ghosts now. Sarah haunts her mother's house and her children's dreams. Marcus haunts bars and dating apps, trying to find someone who doesn't Google him. Tom haunts playgrounds and school pickups, a single father who has to explain why mommy doesn't live with them anymore. The kids haunt everyone, their innocence collateral damage in a war between adults who should have known better. And me? I haunt myself, replaying every sign I missed, every red flag I explained away, every time I chose to trust instead of question. I haunt the life I thought I had, the future I'd planned, the children Marcus and I were trying for while he was already giving himself to someone else. The last time I drove past our old house, the new owners had painted it yellow. My roses were gone, replaced with sensible shrubs. The bedroom window where I'd stood watching Marcus leave for his fake conference was covered with cheerful curtains. A child's bike lay in the driveway where Marcus had stood sobbing for the cameras. Life had moved on without us, the way it always does. Sometimes I dream about that Tuesday, about finding the messages. In the dreams, I handle it differently. Sometimes I confront them quietly, with dignity. Sometimes I never look at the iPad at all, and live in blissful ignorance. Sometimes I leave town without a word, disappear completely, let them wonder what I knew. But I always wake up in this apartment, with its water stains and clanging radiator, knowing I chose the nuclear option and everyone got radiation. My therapist asked me last week if I regretted it. The honest answer changes daily. I regret the pain it caused Tom and the kids. I regret giving them the power to make me this bitter, this broken. I regret not seeing it sooner, not trusting my instincts when Sarah's hugs lasted too long or Marcus's stories didn't quite add up. But do I regret exposing them? Do I regret burning it all down? No. Because in the end, the affair was going to destroy everything anyway. I just chose to control the explosion. Tomorrow is Tom's birthday. Emma and Mason will wake up in a house without their mother. Sarah will probably drink herself to sleep in her childhood bedroom. Marcus will post something on Instagram with his new girlfriend, pretending our 5 years together never happened. And I'll be here, in this apartment that smells like cigarettes and disappointment, knowing that some betrayals don't leave survivors, just different degrees of wounded. The saddest part? Sometimes I still catch myself thinking I should tell Marcus about this when something interesting happens, or Sarah would love this recipe. Muscle memory of a life that was never real. The heart, it turns out, is slower to learn than the head. It keeps reaching for people who were never really there. Last night, I found our wedding video while packing the last box from storage. I watched myself promise to love and cherish, in sickness and in health. I watched Sarah give a toast about how perfect we were together, how lucky she was to gain me as a sister. I watched Tom and Marcus laugh together, brothers in everything but. We all looked so happy, so sure, so completely unaware that 2 of us were already liars and 2 of us were already victims. I threw the video in the trash, then retrieved it an hour later. Not to keep, but to burn properly, with ceremony. Some things deserve a proper funeral, even if they were dead long before you knew it. The truth about betrayal, the thing no one tells you, is that it doesn't just steal your past and present. It poisons your future, too. Every relationship becomes suspect. Every kindness feels like a potential trap. Every I love you sounds like the opening note of another betrayal. You survive, but you're never really alive again, not in the way you were before. If I could tell that woman on the bathroom floor anything, that version of me who'd just discovered her life was a lie, I'd tell her this: the nuclear option feels like justice, but radiation doesn't discriminate. It poisons everything it touches, including you. Especially you. But I'd probably do it again anyway. Because some things, once seen, demand witnesses. Some betrayals, once discovered, require consequences. And some people, once they've shown you who they are, deserve to have the whole world see it too. The apartment is quiet tonight. Just me, the cat who won't cuddle, and the ghost of a life that was never as real as I believed it to be. Outside, people are living their lives, trusting their partners, believing their families are solid. Most of them are right. But some of them are me, a year ago, about to find out that the person they trust most is the one holding the knife. I don't pray anymore, not since that Tuesday. But if I did, I'd pray for them, for the people living in beautiful ignorance. And I'd pray for the ones who've already found their messages, their photos, their proof. I'd pray they're stronger than I was, or at least smarter about their revenge. Because in the end, when you choose the nuclear option, when you decide to burn it all down, you have to live in the ashes. And ashes, it turns out, are all you can taste for the rest of your life.